Hi there, and thank you for clicking on my video. Today we're going to be covering the new frame Dagath, uh, the 54th frame for Warframe. We're going to be covering, since this is a new frame and not a prime, we're going to go over abilities. We're going to talk about strength points that need to be met to acquire specific things. This is a remarkably simple frame to mod for, and because of how you acquire this, we are going to be going over a new player build. So let's go over abilities first. It's a very Halloween themed, which is appropriate for the time being, a Halloween themed frame. Passive is 35% chance that energy and health orbs will become 300% more effective. It's just kind of like a little baby energize. So for new players, this is just kind of a boon for them, because new players will be able to play this frame. The next ability is Word Scythes. Word Scythes surround Dagath, seek out nearby enemies. Those struck are slowed and suffer viral status damage with a guaranteed status effect. The Scythes also spread Doom and extend its duration. Doom is another ability. Does a good chunk of damage. The slow scales with power strength. The slow duration increases or decreases with duration. Drain is obviously affected by efficiency, and the spin damage and the throw damage scale 1-to-1 with power strength. So pretty basic. Doom, this is the most broken ability, and the one we will eventually be abusing. 50 drain, duration is 15 seconds. You can extend this by casting the 1. This allows us to essentially never have to recast it. If we're doing like solo survivals where everything's running at us, you will almost never have to re-trigger this. But obviously, if you're doing Steel Path with things like Acolytes, nullifiers, or say everything around you dies, or and occasionally if you're running the mecha set, if you are, you can just, if you clear sort of a tile and everything in the room dies, you'll have to recast this, but you really don't have to recast this too much. But anyway, okay, so duration extends or decreases, and this is the mark on it, and we'll show it in a second. Extends with duration. Range extends with range, so obviously it can increase or decrease. The angle doesn't change, it's 40%, but that doesn't matter because of how you re-trigger it. Damage is viral, scales 1-to-1 with power strength, so base strength is, or at 100% power strength, it's 100 at, or 500 at 200% strength, which is what I have modded on this right now. It's 1,000. You also have something similar to Clervo with damage redirection. We're going to talk about that. It is sort of a store of damage dealt, and that's a big difference. But we'll talk about that. But just keep in mind, when the scythe, when you cast Doom on something, it adds a little scythe above it. You do a bunch of damage, and then the scythe hits, re-dealing all of the damage that you just dealt to it. So pretty basic. Grave Spirit, this is one of the things that makes Dagath a bit stronger. Drain is base 75. Got a little bit of negative efficiency on here right now. This is going to be an ability that you just basically leave on and use as a safeguard. It gives you crit damage to enemies that don't have Doom on them, and because of the playstyle, I'm going to recommend everything's going to have Doom on it. Against enemies that have Doom on them, the crit damage increase is doubled. This applies to all of your weapons. Time Vulnerable is duration based. It scales up or down based on your percentage duration. And the dodge chance is when you are about to die, Grave Spirit will trigger, making you, when you kill enemies, it's a guaranteed drop of HP, an HP orb, and makes it so you can't be hit. It's honestly kind of nice, but the cooldown for 25 seconds is not moddable. And the fourth ability is Rakali's Cavalry. This is a very nice ability, frankly. Really big power or drain on it. It's 100 energy. Duration is how far the horses go. So it means you basically can't do like minus 13% duration builds, but just keep it with a little bit of duration. We'll talk about optimizing in a second. But the duration, again, goes up and down based on modded duration. So if you have like a negative duration, it'll be shorter. As you can see right now, I've got a mod called Transient Fortitude on. And it's at like 2.18. But as long as you don't dump stat it down to like 13%, like it's fine. The damage is very, very high. It's 30,000 damage at base. I have 200% strength on it right now, so the damage is doubled. But it also, this is another frame that we get finally that has damage reduction. This is going to be in the same as like Theros Strike and I forget the name of ability, but like Caliban's 4, or say the same effect as casting the 1 and 2 of Venaro, right? So you get the shield strip, armor strip, and one ability. So it's very, very nice, and it's got some interesting interactions that go on, especially with the 2, and we'll talk about that. So let's go ahead, talk about, we'll just do a real quick new player build, so the new bros can get out of here. The limiting factor is going to be basically what you can mod. So it's going to be very basic. I'm going to do flow, equilibrium, do the regular one. They're kind of doing away with the flawed mods. You might be able, if you're watching this right now, you probably have one. But if you're watching this in the future, you might not have this. So it is what it is. We're going to do a little bit of range. Dagath does benefit from a tiny bit of range. You really do not need to min-max it unless you're going for like a heavy spam ability build. Strength, again, very basic. You probably have Intensify, but even though it's not really considered like a new bro mod, I will say this: if you have Umbral Intensify, swap that out. And especially if it's maxed at 44%. If you have this, swap this over. It hits a breakpoint with the abilities where you actually gain an additional effect. So it's super important, and we're going to come back to this. This is part of the casual build for like Steel Path. Uses this. So if you have Umbral Intensify, use this. But otherwise, you're just dealing with what you got. So regular Intensify will be fine for now. Let's do an aura mod. One of the early aura mods that you get, Brief Respite, is going to be sort of the best choice. That being said, if you have Corrosive Projection from Nightwave, go ahead and grab that instead, because you're probably still haven't completed your star chart. Corrosive Projection would be pretty good, because the horses will strip 90%. It'll do 45% each time. That brings us to 90% strip. Corrosive Projection, because these are additive, will boost us to 108, and that will allow you to full strip. So Brief Respite, or even, whatever the physical one is. Hold on. Or Physique. If it's what you got, Physique is one of the earlier mods, aura mods that you get. If you got it, and you like this frame, and you swiped for it, listen, I'm not going to judge. Just equip it if you got it, it's fine. But Brief Respite is the native polarity, and Corrosive Projection, if you are still doing the star chart, is a better option if you don't have Umbral Intensify. Alright, so we need a little bit of duration. We'll do continuity. We don't need a ton of it. We really don't. Alright, and the next thing is going to be health, because this is a new bro build. So we're going to get that fancy vitality. We're going to get shields. down here. And the final mod for right now, I would say I've actually been testing out, even on my Steel Path builds, Fast Deflection. This feels pretty good. If you're missing any of these mods, right? If you're missing any of the mods, say like you don't have a stretch or you don't have a flow. Like if you don't have flow, I would suggest doing maybe like a streamline. Because Dagath does have, I have a energy Tau shard and a blue shard. So the energy is a little bit less, but Dagath does have a tiny energy pool. So Streamlined would help you with a little bit of spamability if you do not have flow. That could be an alternative. But flow's the right answer for now until you get like better energy generation. So very basic build. Just kind of deals with what it needs to. Vitality is there literally to just give you an additional damage source. Again, this is regular star chart level. It's just a little bit of all the stats, nothing too big. Equilibrium is going to help you when you pick up energy orbs. It's going to give you health. When you pick up health orbs, which are a little bit more common, it'll give you energy. So pretty basic. So let's go and see what her damage is right now. Because she is actually surprisingly powerful with just this build. Kill these nerds, bring this guy back. Okay, so let's go over her abilities, right? And we'll go over them each one by one. Word Scythes procs viral. It has a base range of 15 because we have stretch. It extends out to 21 3/4. And that is the spread range. So it has two parts. You have the circular damage. And then you have the home, which it does there. It's a guaranteed status proc, which is super nice. Free viral. These have basically, they have a target that they'll home into, and they'll punch through everything between that target and you. So technically, it's unlimited punch through. But I've grouped up a bunch of enemies and had like one on the other side, and it's just punched through to all of them. So it homes, but anything between you and the enemy that it picks. You can abuse it a little bit. They also go through walls. So, pretty nice. The second ability is Doom. This is our bread and butter. This is where we're going to get most of our damage from. You do that little vomit out the front. You get the scythes on the top. The scythe is a store of damage that you deal. So on that damage hit, it was only dealing the damage from Doom itself. So 8 damage. Deals 4, because I've got about 50% damage redirection. And that's what the redirection is. So you cast Doom, you deal a bunch of damage, the scythe comes down, smacks it. And its damage is whatever your damage redirection is. The total amount of damage that you dealt until that scythe hits, it will store all of it, multiply it by the redirection, or divide it in this case, and then deal that. The other interaction is cast Doom. And even if we go over here, now I've already seen a couple of YouTubers talk about like the range on this, and it's literally a non-issue, right? Let's wait for these guys to lose their Doom effect. Should be a couple of seconds. Alright, it fell off. Doom this one guy. See, nothing else is doomed. And now everything is doomed. Okay. Casting it is directional. The spread from the one, because this is spreading Doom, Every time one of those scythes hit is in an AoE. So the idea of needing to spam Doom all the time is that you don't need it. Okay? So you can go through, and the method that you're going to use to reapply this is you're basically going to use the 1 as like your soft CC, and you're going to spread the Doom constantly with that. So if you're being mobbed in a survival and you're doing like a solo survival, you're literally just going to cast on the first enemy. All right, it all went away. So you're going to cast on the first enemy, right? And then for the rest of the mission, you're just going to cast 1 on everything. So, sorry, Doom the first enemy. And then the rest of the mission is basically you just doing this. Okay? And it will spread to everything that's within range in an AoE. Okay? So it's very, very, very easy to keep up. Only the cast hit has the angle, not the Doom spread from the 1. So very, very easy. The spread range helps out a lot. 21.75 is more than enough to cover all but the biggest tiles. Okay? Like, unless it's like a massive room, obviously mod appropriately. For the larger tiles, maybe go double range or even overextend. Talking about a more modified build. But being able to cast this and trigger it regularly makes it very, very easy to keep this up. You're basically going to be casting 1 and 4. And if your Doom falls off, say like you kill everything, because that's definitely possible, then you'll have to recast it, obviously. But then as you're running around, you're basically going to, like, say with like a Sarin Spore, talking about, you know, maybe different alternatives, where you would generally chase your Sarin Spores. With this, you're chasing Doom, and you're using 1 to spread it into the enemies. So it is pretty simple. The other thing is let's see if we can knock this guy further out. Okay, whatever. Is the spread does not have a line of sight check, because the 1 spreads it. It's very glitchy, but it spreads pretty well using the 1. You don't have to worry about it too much. And we can test again here. So definitely line of sight checked. The 1 completely makes up for any sort of like pseudo issues that you have with the 2. So, okay, third ability is a little bit more academic. You press 3. You see in the bottom right, it says Grave Spirit. In the top right, we'll take advantage of this. Increased crit damage on all weapons. This bonus is doubled against doomed enemies, so it's scaled crit damage. It's basically another mod. Still pretty nice. You're going to use this and basically just leave it on. Like, even right now, there's no timer on this. And you can see me glowing, letting me know that it's active. This will stay on if you don't die for an entire mission. If you die, let me turn on the bad guys. On pause. Okay, so they can kill me now. I have Doom on. You will get this effect. This is it triggering. I am completely invulnerable, 100% dodge. And at the end of this, I lose my damage bonus. You can see the timer in the top going down. And if you don't clear the room out, or you don't regain enough health, you'll basically die instantly. Pretty basic. Alright, kill, pause, resimulate. Alright, 4 is honestly a pretty cool ability. 5 horses. They charge forward. How long they go, they have a set speed, but how long they charge is based on your duration. So continuity's helping us out here. It's got, I think it's about 10 meters. Yeah, it's probably about 10 meters of range. It's hard to tell, to be honest. I could be wrong. It could be like 9 or maybe like 12 or something like that, but it's about 10. There are a couple things to note about this. When you cast the ability, if something is doomed, and only if it's doomed, so these guys will armor strip, these guys will not. If I hit them, this guy will not armor strip, this guy will get armor strip, but more importantly, we'll recast Doom just in case. No viral stacks. At about the 5 meter mark, they'll jump up, and the enemy will take 10 hits. Give or take. It's hard to tell, but it's 10 hits if there's nothing else on it. So when you're counting your defense strip from this, where right now it's 45%, it means you get 45 times 10, which means we're massively overstripping, but only on that enemy that's standing at about 5 meters. So if it's a little further, that guy obviously had a little bit of strip on him before, but if you cast it on top of something, for those doing Steel Path, it's going to be really, really important for Acolytes if you're trying to do like an ability-based survival run. That's how you're going to kill Acolytes, is with that. So the ability reads as 39,000. If you full strip and you get it onto an Acolyte where it's right in front of you, you get about 5 meters away, hit the ability. It will take 10 times this amount of damage. So 390,000. And it will definitely full strip. And then that damage will be dealt again by Doom. Depending on what your, damage redirection is. So if you deal like 390,000, we can do the calculator real quick. So it's 39,000 times the 10 hits at that 5 meter range. Easy math, 390 times 0.45, which is the same as the defense reduction, where it's 50 or 45%. We multiply it by this. Then the scythe will come behind and hit for 175,500. In theory, there's some stuff we're going to talk about in terms of math. So combined, if it's a lot of damage in a real little place, plus 390,000. So between the 4 hitting in that little 5 meter range and the scythe, you're going to deal 565,500 base damage. We're going to amp this much higher. Okay. So if the enemies are doomed regularly, right? But you're further away now. So that was a special consideration, about 5 meters. That's where there's an insane amount of damage, right? What if they're further away? They get hit twice. And because we have corrosive projection, we're getting 2 hits of 45% strip, which will give you 90% strip because the ability bonuses are additive. And then because the armor is already stripped because of the aura by 18, it'll give us 105% armor strip, and that's full stripping the enemy with very little power strength. I think I just have an intensify mod on. The other number that you're going to hear going around is this number, and I'll show you where it came from. Okay, so you're hearing about these high strength builds, and there isn't a reason for it. We know that, and I guess we'll just go straight into like PowerPoints where you get something, so we can figure out what exactly we're going to be doing. So the basic build was intensify, continuity. There you go. For new bros, you're out of here. Okay, let's go into PowerPoints. Points where you need to know strength numbers, depending on what you're doing, efficiencies, durations, ranges, that sort of stuff. Dagath, because of the way her doom spreads, you honestly don't need that much range. It does help if you have at least one mod. And on my Steel Path Survival recommended build that I'm going to give you guys, I'm actually just using a reach, or an auger reach. It's not a lot of strength because we're recasting um, the one so much. It doesn't really have that far to go. So let's talk about. So range isn't that big of a deal. Just don't dump stat it. Okay? Don't do it narrow minded and get rid of it because the spread range goes down to next to nothing. It's like 5 meters, and Dagath really doesn't benefit from that much duration. But let's go over the points because strength is the big one. So the big thing with Dagath is going to be the defense strip. There is a massive difference between a Dagath with full strip and a Dagath with no that doesn't full strip, right? She does damage either way, but if you can full strip and under a condition that we're going to talk about, and it's going to be a little bit of math, there is a massive difference in how much damage she deals. So the first thing that we're going to figure out, because it's the same scaling on the damage redirection and on the defense reduction, they scale in the same manner and they start at the same point. Let's figure out how much strength we actually need. So before we had 200 strength on here. I need to spell it right. Okay, so it was transient fortitude. Sorry, a full transient fortitude and a blind rage at 4 gives us exactly 200. Let's see what our number is. Okay, so the good news is because we can see that it's scaled twice as much. That makes sense. There's no weird like 50% scaling or like a 30% scaling where it's like an odd number, like say Necros's old Terrify, where it's like not exactly an even number, right? It's 1-to-1. It starts at 35. Your base number is 35. If you have 200% strength, you get twice the strip, but it starts at 35. So this becomes a simple math equation. We want 100% strip, and it scales 1-to-1, so we're going to divide by 35. This gives us a ratio, and then we're going to multiply it by 100 to get our strength equivalent. So we need 286 power strength to full strip on the first hit of Recall's cavalry. Okay, because remember the horses, and I'll show you this, the horses hit twice. And let's just do a little bit of duration. Okay, and flow. Okay, cool. The horses hit twice. So I'm going to hit this guy. Get rid of the waypoint so you can see it. I'm going to press 4. And there's 2 instances of 295 damage. So the average hit as it's running through is going to get hit twice. 295s all the way down. Pretty basic. And there's no strip because I don't have Doom on. So it's 295 damage. That 30,000 damage is getting reduced all the way down to 295. So like over 99% damage reduction, right? So it's 2 hits. So we get the benefit of only having to get halfway there. Now, if we want to maximize damage as much as possible, and further, for academic reasons, go above and beyond that, we have to mod differently. So if we want full strip on one cast of the 4, we need half of 286. So it was, just to get the exact number, divided by 35 times 100. Okay, so 285.7. We're going to divide it by 2 because we get 2 hits. So the amount of strength that we need for a very casual one tap of the horses, I'm doing it for the full strip, but I want to be able to cast the horses once, her 4, and have them full strip, is unironically just an Umbral mod. Okay. Because this is 44. 144 is above 142, sure enough. And just for, edification, corrosive projection. You need an Augur Secrets. Because it's minus 18%, right? 100 minus 18 divided by 2, because we get 2 hits. So our horse, or our defense strip, needs to be 41. And with an Augur Secrets, we get a defense reduction of 43. So it's more than the amount required by 2% defense reduction. So if you're running a health tank build, you can run corrosive projection and just use an Augur Secrets and use the Augur set to shield gate. But those are the points that we need. I'm going to recommend the Umbral Intensify. So if we want full strip on the 1, or on the 4, we need an Umbral Intensify. So what would we be giving up? The other power point that we would need to hit is we actually gain damage redirection, which is that secondary hit, or that built up damage, and then the scythe hit, right? And I don't know, it's not really like a big pet peeve, but I've been seeing a lot of people complain about how this stuff works. You can see it better if you slow down. And we'll show the interaction. Alright, so the scythe hits for about 77k, 76k. Some of the strip went away. 76k. So the damage doesn't look anything crazy yet, but if you've been messing around with Dagath, you've probably noticed the millions. And here's where they're coming from. And it's one of the interactions why, if you want to do the 286 power strength, you're more than welcome to, but I'll never recommend it. And here's the reason why. It's because the damage on the scythe and on the horses take into account viral damage. The weakness bonus is a little bit different. I haven't been able to get it to regularly proc, even though it should. I think it's just applying once. But there have been times, obviously, running around, and the simulacrum bugs happen, and it's applying it repeatedly. Oh, I already stripped these guys. Hold on. But we'll wait for the Panzer to spit. There we go. Make sure we got 10 everywhere. Easy enough. Got a couple of 6s, 9s. Alright, everything's stacking up. So, the reason why you're getting such huge damage... Alright, easy enough. 300k, and then you saw like a 709 or 696. 300k. So all of a sudden, at that center hit, the instances of damage are going into the 300 and higher thousand damage. And the reason being is that viral counts for this. So right now we have 43,200 damage on each hit. But it's viral damage, so the damage is a little bit higher. So you get the plus 325 from 10 stacks of viral, and then you get plus 75% to, hold on. I just did plus 75, hold on. So 43,600. Sorry, 43,200 plus 325% equals plus 75%. So this is our 300,000 that we were getting. Okay. And now you multiply this by 10, right? Because you get 10 hits, and with the 50% redirection, right? 50% redirection on the 2. You multiply it by 0.5. But then you add 325% again to it. So if you hit something at the 5-meter mark and it's got 10 stacks of viral on it, you hit the fucker for 7 million damage. Okay? Oh, and the 75% bonus. So you hit it for 12 million damage. But it's because viral is stacking several times in the equation. This also does really well with roar, because roar will apply several times. So this is what's going on, why her damage tends to go through the roof on specific things, and why, in my mind, it's really, really hard to justify going for the redirection. But if you want to, because you want to do a full ability build, or a full ability, like, carry, we have this one. Okay. I would highly recommend running with the Panzer. It is capable of shield gating. You would need 385. You would need 2 auger mods. So this would go away. And you could do secrets or do duration. So 120, 170. Let's double check. So you have 50 divided by, I think it's 38.7. 8.75. Actually, you wouldn't even need it with this. That's why I had all that junk up here. So you wouldn't even need it. You would be able to shield gate with just Brief Respite with this. And you could run this, but it would require you using a Blind Rage in order to do it. Not a bad build, but it's very, very casual. Nothing really wrong with it. I even enjoyed using the dual shield recharge. But this will get you over the strength requirement, but it would require a Molt Augmented, so a little bit more of an advanced build. So let's continue building a Dagath for like Steel Path. Or talking about strength points. So the Grave Spirit, the point that you have to worry about, I would say mod this last. And I know the invulnerability is like a big deal, but I'm going to be honest. I view this portion right here as the Helminth spot. Because the crit damage is nice, don't get me wrong. But you could run like a Pillage, or you could run, if you wanted to run like a Pillage, you would take off the 4. If you didn't want to use the abilities for damage, And that's definitely viable because the damage redirection, takes into account all damage sources. Look, we've even gotten it to work with Zada's. Can't tell if that's a bug or not. Because let me tell you, that's like many times damage cap. But the fact is that the redirection gets boosted so many times. I don't feel that getting the 100% damage redirection is honestly that big of a deal because of the way Viral interacts with this. It's just too much of a multiplier. And the fact that you can hit stuff for hundreds of thousands on completely armor stripped targets and it's Viral, I would honestly say the only power strength that you really need to hit is enough to be able to get defense reduction. So if you don't want to run um, like a blind rage, you can run an Umbral Intensify and Shield Gate using something else and consider it good enough in terms of that. So as long as you got over 100 or 143 or 142 strength or whatever it was, you're golden. One can do a ton of damage as well. Let's not get it twisted. Viral does some pretty nutty things. Right, so Doom. And we will just hit this. And it's 134,000 on 144% damage. So if I had more strength, it would have scaled, multiplicatively, a little baby multiplier. I would have done more damage, and the redirection would have scaled as well, so it would have done more damage. So if I had run double the power strength, it would have done like 4 times the amount of damage. So that hit would have been closer to, what would that be? Like 500k, a little over that, right? So the fact is that you can get a ton of damage on this because of the way Viral is interacting with the abilities. And to be honest, I can't tell if this is a bug because the frame's only been out for a couple days, but I feel like Viral stacking twice is just too much of a multiplier. But it's the way it is. So right now, as of right now, that's how this is interacting, and it's why you really just don't need strength. You don't need a ton of it. So other than this, let's go ahead and default our mods. I like running a little bit of duration. Other than that, we're go by default Prime Sure-Footed. This is a Steel Path build. Little bit of range is always welcome. We are going to Shield Gate, so Augur Reach. We're going to do Augur Message. Get rid of Continuity. We are going to use our new mod. Catalyzing Shields. If you want to run Adaptation, you're more than welcome to. Or if you want to do Rolling Guard. If you're doing Steel Path and you're deciding between those two, you probably know where each one's appropriate. I've been enjoying running just like a really low-level Adaptation. Because they updated the shields, right? So they're 50% damage reduction. Adaptation works on shields. Just to give the shields a little bit more of a punch. And it makes a difference. So the next one is going to be Equilibrium. Not just... Oh, we need to... And we'll do... we can do either Corrosive Projection, Brief Respite. Because we're getting the power strength, or we have the power strength for defense reduction from this, you can run something different. It turns the aura into a little bit more of a flex slot. Though, to be honest, and just for transparency, I did Aura Forma. But if you want to run Brief Respite, that simplifies a lot of stuff. So 25, what you're going to be looking for is 200% power strength. You want to be a little bit over. Right now, I've got 160 or 160%. Sorry. you need 200 plus percent energy spent going to your shield. So when you cast your one, you need over 200% of whatever this is. So this gives you 150. Right now I've got 160 on this, so I'm way over. And if I take this down, this will give me 80. And just from the auger mods on my pistol right now, I can shield gate just fine. If I wanted to just use Brief or Spite to shield gate and then not use the auger mods, I would have to use Blind Rage. So pretty basic. But that's where the shield gate's coming from right now, is I have 2 auger mods on my pistol. So other than that, the other mod is Equilibrium. Again, if you want to run Rolling Guard. For the Arcanes, this is personal preference. I've been enjoying Aegis. It feels really, really, really good with Dagath, especially because you're so spammy, because it's a shield gate build. But the damage resistance from adaptation combined with the shields, even as small as they are because you're casting so much, you trigger this a lot. Or you trigger Aegis a lot. And it is a good deal of survivability. So other than that, this is kind of where you just need to start going quality of life. Stretch. And the last one is complete quality of life. If you want to run, I'm going to have forma issues with it, but this last one is completely up to you. I've been enjoying running fast deflection. And that's basically the build that I've been using over here. Obviously, I went double auger, so this would be the pistol where you don't, or the variant where you don't have a pistol with auger mods. This is the one that I was using in Steel Path. Did an hour, no issues, right? But if you want to use a pistol, then you would just swap over to something like this. You know, push the range out a little bit more, get a little bit more duration, you know, complete quality of life stuff. I had no issues with it doing an hour. And more importantly, the Arcane, I used Grace just for a little bit of quality of life. It is technically a free slot, which can't be understated, right? Having a free Arcane slot is a big deal. So with this, you would run the Panzer, you would get the spores that would cause damage, would drop health orbs. This allows you a ton of tank, a ton of energy economy, even though it's not really as required. But this is a very comfortable full strip build. It still hits all the numbers that you need. And the fact is Dagath has so much scaling built into her, especially because you get the viral stack twice. When you see those huge numbers from the horses, unironically, the number that you're seeing do all that damage is actually the scythe. It's not going to be super apparent with this setup, because it only does 38k here, but let me put viral on everything. Let's wait for the Panzer to get over here. So it's 38k with no scaling. Pop some spores. Alright, good enough. Alright. So we're up into the hundreds of thousands again. Pretty basic. It's actually killing them before the scythe could even hit, and the scythe is coming behind with an even bigger number. Even though it would technically be half the damage, but it would get viral boosted again. I'm assuming they're going to fix that, because the damage is pretty excessive. So it is what it is with the regular star chart build. You do not need, if you want to do it, hey, more power to you. But you don't need an insane amount of power strength to get this going. So it's pretty basic, very easy. You still get your shield gate, you get your prime sure-footed, your bases are covered, your energy economy is covered. This build is a little bit more tailored to like a solo survival, because this really, really benefits from everything mobbing you, right? So for me, just for a little bit more comfort, I did Grace, because I was messing around with like the mecha set. But to be honest, you could do like an Energize here for even more spam ability. And also keep in mind when looking at my energy, I do have a single energy blue shard for a reason. So okay, so this is the main build. You know, no rocket science here. If you don't want to use the auger mods on the pistol, again, prime continuity and stretch, go to the auger variants, and you're back to good to go. So it is what it is. And to be honest, it's super comfortable to use. See, that's the only difference between these two builds. This one is obviously a little bit more quality of life. All right, so let's go into some variants. So we have our more power strength focused one. And we get to dump stat a bunch of stuff. This is going to be more 4 related. And we're going to be trying to, move quickly. We're going to be trying to, one-shot groups. Range is a little bit more important. Brief Respite's going to be a lot easier because we have so little efficiency. We're going to be able to shield gate with just the one. So energy economy is going to be pretty important. And there we go. If you want to run adaptation for base star chart, it feels really good. But if you're in any way, shape, or form thinking about doing like a level cap setup, rolling guard would be a go-to. And you would probably know how to modify this a little bit more, but since we have our minus duration, minus efficiency range, you would really have to sort of hold off on the rolling guard for obviously your oh shit moments, but energy drain, because you're so cast heavy. Again, the 1, it's part of the reason why we take flow, or the 4 has a really heavy drain on it, but this is super easy to shield gate with. And let's go ahead and take a look at this. One of the things that I see people complaining about, the 4 gives iframes, and the casting speed. If you run casting speed, you miss iframes. The playstyle that I found is really comfortable for me is I don't run casting speed on her. If you want to be a little bit more mobile, cast it in the air. Makes you do a little hover. Not a big deal. 3 is practically an instant cast. 2, you're not going to be casting that much, right? Does a good bit of damage. You're obviously going to have a crap ton of power strength, so the 3 is going to hurt like a truck. It's going to give you a nice big damage boost. It's going to give you that steamroll play style. It's going to lean more into it. And frankly, the biggest issue with this that I've found is the 3 can't be recast. So it's where normally it's kind of like a little bit stressful. I mean, obviously we know how to deal with it, but like when the acolyte that silences you shows up, if you've got your stacks, it's actually a good thing. If you're doing, like Steel Path Mott or something like that, and you've got your 250 stacks of the Augmented Arcane, run into a nullifier, get rid of it, right? But if you can go down, it actually is a bit of a strategy. Just once you get your 250 stacks, just go ahead and get rid of it. Honestly, I just find like a hole to jump in. And I know that's really dumb. But the fact is because the cooldown is always after the time invulnerable. As long as you don't dump stat it, it's fine. The horse duration is still 2 seconds. It gives you a little bit of range, or a little bit of duration. And the range still gives you enough where you can, still get it spread super well. And especially in a tile. Unless it's say conjunction survival there's that big room with the multiple entrances and it's sort of like a donut where there's like a tree in the center, or say on Mott, for example, there's those couple of really big rooms. Like there's the long one with like the waterfall or whatever in the center, where the walking path goes around it. Like obviously you're not going to be able to prime all of that, but still 21 meters, especially with as much as you're going to be casting this, because this is going to be your shield gate. It's going to have a nice big AoE around you, able to deal with that. And the 10 seconds on the Doom, to be honest, if something has the chance to look at you for 10 seconds straight, there's probably something wrong with your build. If it can sit there and shoot you for 10 seconds, it should probably be dead, right? So the crit damage bonus with the 254 before multi-augmented stacks is 127 crit damage increase. So this could potentially, if you really want to go into it, technically you could remove crit damage off your melee, or your primary or secondary, or depending on what your carry weapon is. Honestly, I would just say keep in mind about this if you're running double crit damage on something. Especially with Rivens. If you have a Riven that has crit damage and you've double crit damaged, mod for something different on the second mod, just to keep the damage relevant, because you're always getting a 127, right? And that's going to beat out an Organ Shatter. So if you're doing a melee, and you're running this, it means Organ Shatter would be the mod that you take off, because you would need the crit chance from Glad Might to give you more, hopefully get you to a tier. You would value that more. You could also run a heavy crit chance setup, so Blood Rush, Sacrificial Steel, that sort of stuff, or do double, especially since there's so much strength on this build. You could run, and if you're really comfortable with using Shield Gate, you can get rid of Arcana Aegis. It's just sort of a quality of life thing if you want to be, a little bit more thinly sliced playing it against the chest. You could throw a strike in here and deal with it that way. But I have seen people running 4 red shards with her. It seems a bit insane, but because that is a ton of crit damage. But anyway, this is another variant. It's going to put you over 300%. Everything, the damage redirection is going to get maxed out. Cavalry is going to get maxed out. The only thing that's going to be benefiting is going to be the crit damage increase. And the slow is going to be higher. It does cap, I think, at 95%. And the spin damage and the throw damage is going to be pretty high. So with this, you'd be able to get much higher damage, like we were saying before. So before we got what was it, 130 or something like that? Let's see how we do with this. Okay, and it died. Uh, 277, hold on. Died. That was a 303. It died before we could get more procs off. But there you go. For the strength build. The other one, because you guys know me, gotta have a mecha set. This is the build that I've been running. I've been in about an hour. Was it 40 minutes? Not an hour. It was 40 minutes. This would be a mecha set centered one. Energy economy is a tad bit of an issue. But frankly, it's not that big of an issue. Because you are so tanky. You're literally running around with thousands of armor. So Dagath gets really, really tanky. Blessing is there to help with the one shot. You will, and Grace helps with survivability because you still have shield gating with this, and this is why I had those other augur mods. So 38.7. So we need 50 shields, just to explain why. Divided by 38.75. So, sorry, 50. Because that catalyzing shields brings us down to 50. You divide this by 38.75, which is the drain. We get this number, 129, to figure out what our percent is, multiplied by 100. So we need at least 129%. So with Augur Message, we're at 160. If we get rid of it and go down to a 3 set, we're at 120. So we actually need the 4 set bonus in order to be able to shield gate with just our 1. So it's super tanky. You've got the Mecha Pulse armor. You've got health conversion armor. You've got shield gate. You've got a blessing, grace, keeping you alive, and the adaptation reduction. And how you sort of like survive with or do damage with this is actually the Mecha Set AoE nuke. Generates a bunch of orbs, especially with like the 4, because you get to kill so much stuff. There's so much viral going around that if you're running the sword and whip, with the however you pronounce this, the Doorclave, blade and whip, sorry, you're dealing so much damage with the slash on this. The Mecha Set will act unironically as an additional multiplier on top of the viral boost. So we were getting the 325 plus 325% damage to health. This gives you another 2.5 multiplier on top of it. And God forbid you got like a slash headshot, right? You can really nuke a room with this. So the Mecha Set is so strong, it'll keep your kill rate up, but you are massively more survivable. The only thing is, and there's a reason, and this is the reason why I was running the blue shard. You notice I got one little baby, and it's for a very simple reason. It's the only reason why I got the shard on there, is that if you add up Recall's Cavalry, Doom, and Word Scythes, so 155 for the Cavalry, plus 77.5 for the 2, plus 38.7. So if you add those 3 abilities together, I've got like 3 energy left over after a full rotation of all 3. But the good news is I get to run through and pick up a bunch of health and energy orbs because I've just nuked the room, right? So if I need to recast and if I get like silenced, or if I get like nuked from something like an Eximus, like a volatile Eximus, or like say I'm not paying attention and an Acolyte kills me, then I can get a full reset rotation off. But I need the 1 blue shard. Otherwise, if you don't want to do this, you don't need any shards, technically. Everything else is quality of life and making life easier. So, it is what it is. If you like this, I like the Mecha Set play style because it's very, very passive. You just sort of run through and just, smack stuff, and like everything dies around you. And because of the way the Mecha Set works, because of the 30-meter AoE from the ability, obviously don't have a Mecha target or a Mecha pet right now. Like I was using the Pharaoh Predicite. But the range gets up to 30 meters, and a lot of times that will nuke and kill all of the Doom targets. But the good news is the dot counts toward the Doom, right? The damage. So it kills everything pretty quickly. It basically doubles your already massively buffed damage. So it'll sit there and mimic it. All those dots get transferred over, nice and easy. Really just shuts down a room. So it's a fun play style. Though, to be honest, thank God the pets are, you can bring them back up without having to stand over. But basically, if you stop meleeing, your pet dies. Only downside, even with all this armor, things just kill the pet so fast. But anyway, these are going to be my builds. Hopefully this helped. Little bit of an explanation on the damage and why you're getting millions. And it's because of the viral interaction, the viral status boost applying a couple times between the 4 and the 2. So the skill rotation, I've been seeing lots of people talk about this, and I'm going to be completely honest. You're spamming 1 so much, and if you're playing 3, if you're not dying, 3 is going to be up for an eternity. So you're never going to recast it unless you have like a stacking arcane, or say like I was trying out what is it called? Energy conversion. Then you would want to restack it, right? For the big damage increase. Because that's from energy conversion and multi-augmented. It's like 110 strength. It can really free up your build. And if you're comfortable doing energy conversion or comfortable with the playstyle, it's basically a transient fortitude without the punishment, right? But it's got a condition on it. So I was trying it out, does pretty well. You gotta kill yourself in game, obviously. But it's pretty comfortable, works pretty well. And this build I only got to 40 minutes, but the other one does an hour. And frankly, that's good enough for like 90% of the people. So that's the interactions. I'm sure we're gonna find more. Roar interacts very, very favorably. I used it over the 3. Instead of getting a crit damage increase, you get a faction increase. Also increases the damage on your 4 and your 2, and those stack multiplicatively. So a lot of damage can hurt. The 2 will end up doing insane amounts of damage, especially because the 4 hits so many times. So say like killing a Demolist or something like that. You're basically doing level cap amount of numbers. Obviously, you're gonna have to worry about like flat damage reduction from the Demolist. So it'll be a little different, but damage reduction will hurt you several times. It goes both ways. Keep that in mind. So if the Demolist has damage reduction, it's going to reduce this, and then that's going to reduce how much damage gets collected, and then it's going to reduce the damage dealt. So if you're doing something like that and you want to try for a meme level cap build, the 100% redirection and potentially a roar build would honestly be what I recommended. That being said, this frame is really, really solid all on its own. So it's up to you guys. I hope this helped. Definitely not a 2-hour video like the Baruch video, but we got it done in about an hour. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the bottom. Other than that, y'all have a blessed day. I think I covered anything. Take it easy, guys. Later.